Hey everybody, Juan Ortega here, your business coach, and here is your business tip of the week. So today I want to talk to you about building a brand and the power of branding. So as you can see from the 4 different examples on here, whether we're talking about an apparel company like Supreme, a coffee company like Starbucks, a watch manufacturer like Rolex, or a technology company like Apple, when you can build a brand, you can charge much more. Now, some of you might be saying, yes, but these are superior products. And they are. I think for the most part, you do get what you pay for. And typically, not always, but typically, when you pay more, you do get more in terms of quality, either with the equipment or with the service or in some way, shape, or form. But let's talk about the benefits of branding. Why should we turn our company not just into a company or to a profitable company, but into a brand? Well, like I mentioned, the first thing is you can charge more. The second part is that all of a sudden you find yourself competing less because you stand out, because people are coming to you, they're lining up at the door because they've heard about you or your brand. So all of a sudden you find out that you start isolating yourself from the competitors simply because your branding is so unique. It almost makes it appear as though you have no competition, which is really interesting. All of a sudden, you'll become higher in demand. Word will spread. People will start falling in love with your community, your brand, your company, what it represents, what it stands for. People will naturally want to be part of that. And so it'll be more about you fulfilling the business than actually going out there and generating clients for it. And that's another reason why franchises are very effective and valuable. It's because essentially when you buy into a proven franchise, part of what you're getting is that brand that has already been established for you. It's an easier sell, and this is one of my favorite parts about it, is that when you have a brand like Rolex or Rolls-Royce or Mercedes-Benz, essentially people come in already convinced that they want it, and they're just kind of picking out the model. You're not going to have to do a really hard job selling simply because they've come in pretty much sold in advance. Then that also means higher margins when you're able to raise your prices, and not just a little bit. The idea is not just to be a little bit more expensive than your competitors, but it's ultimately to be the most expensive in what you do in your industry. When you raise your prices like that, all of a sudden your margins will increase, which will make it for a much more profitable company. So let's talk about what it takes to build a brand. And there's 3 big components that go to building a brand. So the first one is strategy. What we mean by strategy is essentially your company's positioning in the marketplace based on how you want the world to see your company. So it's exactly that. It's how you're going to position your company. So you're going to position your company to be the Neiman Marcus of what you do or the Walmart of what you do. Are you going to be the Kia? Are you going to be the Mercedes-Benz? Are you going to be the Timex? Or are you going to be the Rolex? Okay, so it's your positioning and it's the strategy that you're deciding on before you introduce your company or your brand to the general market. What's your strategy behind it? Once you're clear on that strategy, then you can go and build the identity. And this is what most people are familiar with when we think of branding. It's the look and feel of your company. It's the logo. It's the colors. It's the font. It's all these different things that create the identity. The mistake that I see people making is that they think that branding is just that. It's just the identity. It's the look, the feel, the mascot, the colors, the slogan, and it's much more than that. You actually need to develop the long-term strategy first, and then the identity helps you fulfill or carry out that strategy, not the other way around. Okay, so don't just think it's this one thing. Don't get stuck here. Don't spend most of your time on the identity. There's a lot more to that. Once you've established what your company will look and feel like, then you can go out and establish the marketing. It's basically the tactics and channels that you will use to convey your branding and your message. So are you going to be on social media? If so, which platforms? Are you going to do email marketing? What are the templates going to look like? Are you going to be on YouTube? What will those videos look like and sound like and feel like? Okay, so the marketing is the different tactics, the channels that you'll use to communicate all the work that you've built up until this point. So let's look at the 5 tips to effective branding, how to make this really work out, and the 5 areas that you need to make sure you don't forget about. So number one is develop a higher purpose behind you and the company. It's not enough these days to be in business just to make money, because nowadays what we've determined is that people will go behind a company when they know that that company has a bigger or higher purpose, when there's a meaning behind the company, and when they stand for something, when there is a cause that they're passionate about. So whether that is saving the trees or the whales, or ending homelessness or poverty, or educating children, what is it? What is it that you and your company are passionate about? What's the higher purpose behind you being in business? Because when we're looking at standing out and giving our clients the clear idea of why they should do business with us versus our competitors, when we communicate, when we establish and communicate a higher purpose behind our existence and the company's existence, then people will get behind that. There's enough people that are going to really jump on board with you behind that purpose, and that's when you start to build raving fans and loyal customers. Number two is do your research. So when I say do your research, what I'm talking about is do your research around your marketplace or the market that you're in, your competitors, your industry. I want you to really look at them, spend some time looking at what people are doing now, what they've been doing, what they're saying. And then I want you to think about, well, what's missing? What problem hasn't been solved yet? What frustrates people about doing business with our industry or our type companies, and how can I resolve that? What is abundantly being said, but also what's missing, because that's where the opportunity really might come in. Ultimately, what we're looking to establish here is a clear point of differentiation. How are we going to be different than the other companies that are already out there in the marketplace? Number three is define your target audience. And this is all about deciding in advance who you will serve, who will your customers be. And I want you to look beyond demographics. I want you to look at the psychographics as well. So not just, the age and medium household income and where people are located, but I want you to think about also the psychological things that group people together. So what are their wants, their desires, their fears, the things that they want to solve more than anything? That's what I want you to get clear on, is who can you best serve? Think about your customers now, and think about who your best customers have been so far. How can we find more of those? See, it becomes really easy because once you know who you like to do business with, who you like as ideal customers, then it's easy, because essentially you start saying no to everything else, no to the things that are going to attract you, the less than ideal customers. Number four, get clear on your brand's image and voice. So that's really important. Are you going to be a very formal company, or are you going to be professional? Are you going to be known and seen as a very modern or more of a traditional company? Are you going to be fun and whimsical, or are you going to be more serious and kind of professional in your branding and in your interactions with your customers? All of these things you need to get really clear on. And then number five is be consistent. Once you figure out who you are, why you exist, who you're going to serve, and what your image is going to look like, then be consistent. What I see happening a lot is you go out, you spend all this money, all this time creating all the imagery, all the fonts, the logos, the different color schemes, and then you try it out for a few months and you give up. Be consistent. Don't give up. It takes time for these things to stick, so don't give up. Invest the time into it, same amount of time or more than you did coming up with all of the branding. And then three last things here, besides these 5 tips, is really, really important is, don't try and become a brand before you've become a business. And what I mean by that is oftentimes I've seen people invest a ton of time and money into this beautiful branding, beautiful location, if you have a physical location, and then they have to shut down 5 or 6 months later because they ran out of money. They were trying to become a brand before they turned a profit. So realize that you need to turn a profit first and keep those profits coming in, and then you can continue to brand out and to really build out an amazing brand. So don't get too caught up in building a brand before you've built a business. The second part is fall in love with the boring stuff, the boring work. And what I mean by that is the research. Now, you might not find that boring. If you don't, awesome, fantastic. Go and do all the research that you want. But what I see a lot of the times is that the sexy part, the fun part about branding your business is the creating the color schemes and the logos and the slogans and all these different things. But then you didn't do enough research to see what's needed, what the competition in the market's already saying and doing. So don't shy away from, don't rush through the research part of it. Take your time, do it slow, and it's going to pay off a lot better in the future. And then the last thing on here is branding is important, but what you do with your branding is what counts. Okay. I've seen a lot of people spend way too much time on logos, business cards, websites, all these pretty things to look at. And then when I ask them the $1,000,000 question of how are you going to use this business cards? How are you going to use this new template that you created on your email CRM? They have no clue, right? So it's not just the branding, it's what you're going to do with these tools and assets once you build them. Guys, go out there, build a business, build a brand. Thanks for watching.